Hey everybody, my name's Trish from Downey's Candle Company. Thanks for stopping back by my channel. This is week 2 of my 52 weeks of candles series that I'm trying to do. This week we are going to make this layered candle that has a rose wax embed in it. So let's get started on it. The first thing is I have my clear jar from California Candle Company. This is the 13.5 ounce Cali jar. I've already cleaned it with alcohol and I've got my wicks. I'm using 2 CDN2 wicks and I already put my wick stickers on the bottom of them. So I'm just going to place them in the jar. What they look like in the jar. Then I'm going to put my wick bar on, I guess you call this, to keep my wicks in place when the wax is in. I forgot to put my wax in, so let's do that now. I am using, let me plug my wax melter in. So for this candle, I am using IGI 6006 and 464. So in case you couldn't hear since I was rattling this over, IGI 6006 and Golden Brands 464. And I measured out, I'm making 4 candles. I already got the other jars ready, which I'll bring out when I'm ready to do it. I already measured out. I'm using 14.8 ounces of 6006 and 6.4 of 464. Just dump that in. Can start melting. There. So I used to melt this with the double boil method, and then I got a birthday gift and I treated myself, and this is a Presto Pot wax melter. So that is what I use now when I'm doing probably 3 or more candles. If I'm doing just a couple candles, I still will use the pouring pitcher on a double boiler because, I don't know, to me it's just easier. So while that's melting, I have already gotten my fragrance oil ready, and I'm using Candle Science's Rose Petal Gelato, and I'm doing a 9% fragrance load. So the other thing I do, because as you can see with this, it is pink, then just the regular wax color, and then a darker rose embed on top, and I just have a silicone mold that I'll be pouring the rose embeds in. And as you can see on these jars, what I did is I go up the jar about 1 1/4 inches. That's how much pink I put in. So I just put a line with Sharpie on there. Then I go up another about 3/4 inches with the white, and then the embed sits on top. So to do that, all I did was I took my ruler, went down to the bottom, and then measured up 1 1/4. So, and then up to 2, because that will be another 3/4. So that gives me a good guideline, and that way I know how much wax I'm pouring in each of them. And this comes off easily with, just spray it with alcohol and wipe it down, and it comes right off glass, super easy. So I'm going to let my wax melt, and then I will be back to pour it. And then what we're going to do, and put the color, I'm using magenta from Candle Science as well. Then we'll pour it, and then I'll have to come back in a few seconds to you, but I'll probably come back tomorrow and melt up the white part and pour that, and then once that solidifies, then I'll come back and show you how I put the embed on. So I will be back in just a few minutes. Alright, so my wax is just about melted. I'm going to get my jars out here. And let's see. Alright, about 200. So I'm going to turn this off. And as I showed you in the first video, sometimes I can't show you in here, but the spout is down. So my wax doesn't fully cover the spout, so it's not unlikely that I'm going to get all of that out with having to tip this, so I just pour it. I just pour the whole thing right in here. Put one piece of wax. That does not want to melt. Oh, it's a wick sticker. Alright then. Okay, so I'm going to pour my wax in here. If I was concerned about having my wax stay at a higher temperature, I'd probably take my heat gun and heat my pouring pitcher up. But since I heated it up slightly above what I needed to, I'm sure that once it's in here, the temperature's going to come down. So it's about 197 right now. I'll just let it cool off a little bit more. $194 comes down pretty quick. So I'm going to put my color in right now. And for the bottom layer of this, for 4 candles, I put 4 drops of magenta from Candle Science. So we're at about 161 right now, and I usually like to pour, or I say usually, when I made this one I poured it around 150, and it adheres pretty well to the jar. So I'm gonna just let this cool down a little bit longer, and I'll bring you back when it is cooled down to 150 and show you how I pour them. Okay, so the temperature is, let's see, 148. I don't know if you can see that, but that's the temperature. That's the temperature I'm going to pour it at. And when I pour these, I kind of like to be eye level with them. So I put them drops away, don't know why. So now I am going to pour the silicone mold. And since I like that darker, I put 4 more drops. So there's a contrast between the 2 rose colors. I'm going to stir that for a little bit. might need to get a table riser so I can actually stand, because I prefer standing to sitting when I'm making candles, but the table's kind of short. Alright, so this color looks pretty evenly distributed in here now. And I'm going to pour it into 4 of these. And I don't quite fill them all the way to the top. I mean, I probably would if I had enough wax, but I will bring you in for a close-up look of what I've poured, and then I will come back probably tomorrow after these have set up and we can do the white layer. All right, now the pink is all set up, so it's time to do the white layer. And the white layer has, this white layer consists of, for all 4 candles, sorry, 7 ounces of 6006, 3 ounces of 464, and 1.2 ounces of fragrance oil. So I measured that out already. The wax, I melted it, so now it is in my pouring pitcher. And I'm going to add the fragrance oil. And I'm going to just stir that for 3 minutes. Let me just set my watch. Okay, so now the fragrance oil is stirred in. It is at about 150. I let it cool down a little bit more so that it doesn't melt the wax, the pink wax. And I'm going to pour it like I did yesterday, right up to the black line. And as I'm noticing with these two, some of the white is going down. I don't know if you can see that, but that's because some of the pink has pulled away from the jar. So I'm going to, okay, so when I left, I had started pouring the white and forgotten that when I poured the pink after it dry or after it hardened, some of it had pulled away from the sides. On this one, I remember I heat gunned the top to fill in the sides. This one you can see I didn't, and you can see how it's not a clean line here. So I heat gunned the sides of these, and now I'm gonna attempt to pour these again. I reheated the wax. It's at about 158. So it has the fragrance oil in it from the last time. All right, so let's get pouring on these ones. these are already looking better. I'm just going to put these wick bars back on. Okay, so these are going to harden up, and then I will bring you back when they're hardened, and we will put on the roses that have set up. Okay, so now the white is hardened up, and we are ready to put our molds on, our rose molds that we molded. So what you need to do is you need to put 2 holes in the top through them so they can go down on the wick, each wick. So this is the wick bar that I use, and what I do is just put it over the mold, center it. I have, I think this is an Allen wrench, a small one that's just about the size, slightly bigger than the wicks, and I just poke right through it in both spots. Then I take it out and make sure it's poked right through. Pull off any of the additional wax. So now these both have holes in them. And I just take my heat gun and I just melt the wax just a tiny bit on the top so that this will stick right down in there. So not very long, and then I will put the wicks through these holes. Pull them at the same time as I'm putting it down. And there we go. Now I'm going to let that one dry a little bit while I do this one. And that is how you make this rose gelato candle. Oh, and I think I said before, I just take a little bit of alcohol on a paper towel, and these guidelines that I put on there just come right off. I was looking for my wick trimmers. I don't seem to have them over here, but all I will do now is just trim the wick on both of these. Yeah. And put a black cover on them, and then they will end up looking like this. A nice, beautiful smelling, beautiful looking rose gelato, rose